Welcome to It Takes Two. I'm Blair.
I'm Chris.
And today we'll be talking about Kenya's confessionals, what happened in her words, the YouTube video.
Yes, listen here. I watched this video 2 times. Before I watched the trailer because I thought that was the video, but then I watched this video 2 times just for when it was released and also to take in some mental notes that stood out to me for this review. Subscribe, like, share, comment, all the above. But you go walk us through the talking points?
Yeah, we're going to go section by section by the things that I felt like were important for us to talk about as a community.
As a community.
So, Kenya tells us that these pics did not come from any particular person.
Mm-hmm.
There was an investigator who found images online on various sites of Britt.
Yeah.
And it's not considered revenge because they were public images accessible online. She knows she was wrong. She said she was wrong, but she did not break the law.
Can you stop right there for a second for me?
Yes.
Now, this is coming as a response to Portia basically saying that one of the current housewives gave Kenya the photos.
And Portia said they were underage. That's why I'm just like, I just don't really.
I understand you don't like Portia.
I'm like, no. That's why I just can't listen to Portia too tough because whether or not Portia, wherever she received her information, y'all, if we gonna talk.
Okay.
Y'all remember?
Yes,
back in the day.
Yes, I do remember the Phaedra. Go ahead.
The Phaedra Candy situation back in the day.
You're right.
And it seems to be that Portia likes to take people's words and take it as fact.
Mm-hmm.
So I really can't go off of what Portia says because it honestly seems like she'll take anybody's word or even whatever she conjures up in her head and report it off as fact. So I incline not to believe Portia.
Yeah, listen here. Blair, when you're right, you're not wrong.
Thank you.
You get what I'm saying? So that's the thing that I don't believe of Portia. All of the heat was on Kenya, right? This was prior to actually seeing the video. Then once people saw the video and things of that nature, there was still some heat on Team Twirl, but some people look at, hey, Britt, your hands is not so clean in this. Like, as Angela said, you throw rocks and hide your hands. Okay, cool. Portia, there was no reason for you to interject anything into this. Now we going back looking at you as Blair is giving us flashbacks of times where you are taking people's word, and this is what actually got you off the show for years.
Yeah,
this what got Phaedra off the show for years. Until Candy decided she wasn't gonna come back. So this whole idea that you would take someone's word.
Well, Portia's fighting is what got her off.
Oh well, yeah, that's facts too.
Yeah,
right. But the fact that Portia is taking the words of something that can be a crime. And then Kenya got to come out and say, you know what, Portia, that's not true. I know where I got it from. Is for one, it's not a fact that I didn't get it from any of the current housewives. To me, I'm looking like, why would you throw your cast under the bus?
Yeah.
Like, that makes no sense, especially since they've been carrying you this whole season. That makes no sense to me.
Correct.
But it is what it is.
Yeah. And the next point she had was about her joking about her pistol at home versus Britt threatening somebody during the middle of the argument. You can't compare it. It's apple to oranges.
Mm-hmm.
And also Phaedra brought a taser around the ladies.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I understand we're trying to blur the lines. We're trying to split hairs here. That's why I think there should be a no nonsense type of rule when it comes to weapons, even if you're in your house and things like that, we're not going to film that.
Yeah.
And we're not going to joke around with that, right? Unfortunately, hopefully things is okay. Prayer for people down in Florida. There was another shooting. Dude, like, you get what I'm saying? So that's why I'm like, it's not fun or even funny to play around, even if Phaedra wasn't in the room, even if you know what I'm saying? And now granted, this was filmed and Phaedra didn't see it or know about it until after it was released. But even still, that's not something to joke about.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So taser, pistol, nunchucks, ninja stars, whatever it is, let's just keep it all away. You get what I'm saying?
On that, but I do feel like there is a difference between having an argument with somebody in their face, talking about the weapons that you have, versus being at home, having your weapon locked up, and talking to your friends. It is a difference to me.
It is a difference. And also, I want to point out, I don't know if you have it written down in the notes, but Kenya basically in this video was pointing out the fact that she do not know Britt.
Yeah.
So there is a that is a component of, hey, this woman is doing a lot. I don't know her. So these threats, I have to take it seriously. I can't.
And we're actually gonna get into.
Oh, okay, yeah. I can't take it with a grain of salt compared to Phaedra.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? I know Phaedra and things like that at least better than I knew Britt. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So Kenya wanted to be more so of a supportive cast this season, be able to read if necessary, but pretty much be mother and allow the newcomers to be the ones to lead the show.
Yeah.
The ring issue in her mind was made up because Britt was wearing an engagement ring and was not wearing a band. She didn't know what was going on with Britt because she does not know her. She talks about how she pretty much only hugs people that she does know, and she thinks that Britt wanted to be the villain, wanted to have the villain role, made promises about coming after Kenya, but she was thrown off by the fact that King was actually nice to her, and production was probably telling her to step it up because she was actually pretty boring. And she also, just in talking about Britt and how she doesn't really know the girl, she's more so willing to kind of take things a little bit harder from a stranger because from a stranger, and especially from Britt, we got this girl from off the street, and this is somebody who, as far as I'm concerned, has nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So if she's threatening me with these things, and as far as I'm concerned has nothing to lose, who's to say she won't do it? And who's going to stop her?
I 100% agree.
And Kenya also threw in that she was the only person on Housewives of Atlanta who was physically assaulted. So I feel like that gives her even more reason to not take lightly to people's threats of violence. So because y'all didn't protect me before, even though Kenya you was doing a lot.
and we talk about she was assaulted by Portia.
Yes.
Right. Here's the thing, right? I think Kenya's reputation does precede her, right? It's kind of hard. Now, granted, I think I started watching from season, it's kind of hard to say. I want to say 6, maybe, right? But it is kind of hard to basically say, okay, Kenya, you've been off what you are perceived as, because Kenya basically been toning it down for the past 3 seasons, right? But that still don't erase the other seasons, right? Even in this review, that she is basically talking about, listen here, I know what I did with the Kim Fields things. I know y'all want to give me the chair, right? For pulling her chair out. It is wrong. I shouldn't have did it. But me and Kim, we made up and things of that nature. And what y'all holding this grudge towards me, she's not doing that, right? But I want to go to what she's basically saying, that Britt had this perception of Kenya, which basically put Kenya in a corner to only act one way, of basically she's going to be mean and she's going to basically be reading me and she's going to bring receipts and she's going to be shady. And that's not fair to Kenya. That's why I think a lot of people do not feel sorry for Kenya, because they feel like this is her karma off of her perception since she's been on the show.
And I don't think that's fair.
That's not fair.
I feel like Kenya had her back and forth in her time with the ladies when she was very comfortable in her villain role. I think that since she had her daughter, she calmed down a lot. And I think that she is showing herself as a different person on the show than she has in the past. And just because you have a preconceived notion of how Kenya is going to be or the role that you want to have on the show, it has to be something worth like getting into it with somebody over. And I do think that the ring issue was a made up issue in order for Britt to come at Kenya for whatever reason.
Of course.
And I'm not going to say, I said made up, but at the same time, I think that Britt, in her mind, this is legit her feeling slighted.
No,
because
I'm not buying that.
Because the way that she explains, and when asked about why she got into it with Kenya, to me, she's like a dog with a bone. Like, she's not going to give it up. She's not going to say that maybe I overreacted.
No, she's
I
not.
think that she really believes what she says. And that even makes me go on to the most recent episode when she talks about Angela Oakley and then throws out there about Charles having a child on her. Like, what Angela said, I felt like didn't give you pretty much it. You shouldn't have had that type of ammunition for what Angela said. It's not even type of shade. Like, you definitely went 1,000 with it, and that makes me believe that that's just who she is.
But here's where I don't agree with you here when it comes to she believes what she said. Because on the Watch What Happened Live, when Andy asked her directly, what did Kenya do to you? She said nothing. So like, and when I say nothing, I don't mean she said the word nothing. I mean like she couldn't say anything that she couldn't point to anything specific that Kenya did.
Yeah.
So like, how do you believe something if you can't even really like? If it's one thing if she basically said she came at my marriage, she came at my marriage. I feel like she came at my marriage, right? She's not even saying that.
Yeah.
dude, like you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, she's kind of back and forth.
Like,
I'll give you that.
Like she's not. So I don't even know what she's standing on. Our only thing she's standing on is the whole fact that Kenya went too far with her and basically brought up some dirt that she shouldn't have brought up, and that's facts. But other than that, we are trying to say what started it, and the only thing that Britt is saying is she triggered me. I was triggered. And I'm like, okay, what triggered you? What did Kenya specifically do to you? And she's like, well, it's not about that. It's just like, you can't say nothing. So how can I say that you believe what you say when you don't even know what you believe?
So you think it's all a lie?
I think it's all a lie.
Okay.
I think it's all a lie because I think what happened was, I think she was expecting everybody to basically be on her side because everybody was on her side before the actual video came out, right? Before the episode came out. But I think what happened, the tide started turning with her own castmates. Because remember, the castmates were still filming, even though we did not see what happened. I think what happened was initially the castmates was very surprised and very probably disappointed as Cynthia is
Kenya.
As Cynthia liked to say that she was disappointed in Kenya. But after that, I think they kind of justified it to themselves because they said at the end of the day, they don't really know Britt. They know Kenya, right? You had Drew having a conversation with Britt this past episode talking about, even though we had this brunch for you, basically saying we on your side, well, we ain't really banging with that celebratory thing that you had against Kenya. You get what I'm saying? So this whole idea that, yes, Kenya can be wrong, but I think the tide started turning where she felt like her castmates wasn't 100% behind her. Hence, Angela saying you threw rocks and hide your hand. Drew saying, hey, there's no point of no victory lap. You have to take accountability. Portia is already going to be with the OG, even though she's not really friends with Kenya. You get what I'm saying? And now we know after the fact that Britt not really friends with Kelly no more. So it's like, I think that what really made her really like be, what's the word? I think people really starting to see like Britt as not so innocent, and now there's this whole PR thing to where she's basically like, oh yeah, I was underage, I was this, I was that, and I'm just like, yeah, it keeps changing, kind of like how with the whole insurance thing, I lost my license, and then it turned to I'm under investigation, and then it turned to all these other things. So it's like I don't believe nothing Britt says out of her mouth.
Yeah. So Kenya went on the Tamron Hall show. She used that platform as a way to apologize because she did have a lapse in judgment, and that's cool.
Yeah. In my opinion, you had a terrible lapse in judgment. I think what Kenya is saying is that because she do not know Britt, right? Because a pistol was threatened or used to threaten someone, and granted, I know the people who was on Andy Cohen, the co-host or like whatever, or even the caller that was on the show talking about they didn't take it seriously. I don't know what you think a pistol is for. Like to throw it? You get what I'm saying? Like a pistol is only used for one thing, right? So I do think that Kenya's whole idea was I'm going to be so strong-handed in my response that it's going to get you up off me forever.
And
right?
That's what she said.
And I don't think
a lot was cut out though.
Yeah, no, for sure. But
I wanted to hear what happens in her area where she's from.
But
yeah.
I can kind of tell you what happens, right? Even though I'm not where she's from, but it's the same street rules basically. I'm going to go too far or three far just to make sure and put you in your place to be like, I'm not going to mess with this person no more. Now, she may have went into some details where she don't want to incriminate herself, but I do believe that Kenya was going to do this one thing and wasn't going to do anything else to this girl.
Yeah.
I think she believed this was going to be the one big retaliation that's basically was going to crush Britt, and Britt knew not to mess with her no more. Like, I do not think this was the beginning of Kenya getting started and she was just going to basically do a whole show of going back at Britt.
I agree. And that's like when I was saying during our reviews that I can believe that Kenya probably did feel unsafe and threatened, and she did something crazy to get this girl up off her. So I totally believe she felt how she felt, even though she went three far.
Yeah, like it's almost like a prison mentality. You go to a new school and you are the new kid in the school and you end up fighting a bully. just to let everybody know, don't mess with me.
Yeah.
You know, even though I'm sitting by myself in the cafeteria, don't mess with me. And I think Kenya was trying to prove that point to Britt, don't mess with me.
Yeah. And then, of course, on Watch What Happens Live, Andy said that there was an investigation. According to Kenya, when we film, nobody checks our bags, nobody checks our cars, and they want to talk about having an investigation 3 weeks later after everybody is gone from the scene of the crime. And I totally agree with her. You guys are just going to ask her if she had a gun. What did the investigation entail?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's nasty.
And she says she has proof otherwise. So I'm interested if she ever does choose to reveal that proof, what it is.
Yeah, that's nasty.
And she asked, how would this turn out on any other housewife show? And I know she talked about like Kyle and New Jersey and things like that, but I kind of want to bring it to Potomac as well.
Help me.
The other black cast show that we have. And when we talk about the Monique and Candace fight and how the cast reacted to people getting physical, to the point where Giselle needed a bodyguard. Everybody talking about they feel unsafe and they want Monique up out of here. I think that it more so definitely, I think it speaks to, race plays a factor, but I also think it speaks to how the cast chooses to rally around you. Yeah. And I think that the cast for Atlanta, they did a lot of talking to Britt. Oh, she's remorseful. Oh, let's make sure she apologizes to Kenya. Yeah. But if they would have stood 10 toes down that we don't really want to film with this girl because none of us feel safe and comfortable, then I think that might have been a different story.
Yeah. I think also age plays a factor too. And the fact that those Potomac girls are older, even though at the time they wasn't as old as they are now. But I think there's a lot of classism, a lot of if y'all want to say colorism, I guess, I don't know, right? But there's something in the sense of, oh no, we don't want this ghetto girl around us and things of that nature. To where Atlanta, like, Portia's the anchor of the show, and she's probably the most ghetto one. You get what I'm saying? So I don't know who would have been the one out of this cast to say, I don't want to film with this girl outside of Kenya, but Kenya was the one that was threatened. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Because everybody is still pretty young and spry in some way. Kelly already got her bodyguard, so she's like, nothing's going to happen to me. You know what I mean? So I don't know who would have been the one to really rally around Kenya and be like, we don't want to film with this girl because she's over here talking this type of talk. Yeah. Compared to Potomac. But I do like the example because, of course, if this was Beverly Hills with an all-white cast except for one,
it would have been handled completely different.
We wouldn't even heard of Brittany being part of the show.
Exactly. They would have refilmed and refilmed till they got it right.
We starting back on episode 1, guys. Exactly. You know what I mean? But I like the example with Potomac because it shows that, hey, all these people were the same race, and it just shows the rallying behind one, and kind of the castmates kind of made the decision for the production.
But I also want to say in Potomac, in the different light, is that when it came to the Mia Wendy fight, and Mia got up hitting Wendy upside the head with the bag and throwing liquor and stuff like that in her face, when they decided not to rally, then the person was advised to continue to stay on the show. So it's just kind of like, I think that it matters that the cast stands for something. You know what I mean? Especially when you're not a white cast.
Question. Do you think after the fact, with everything coming out, with basically Kenya saying her truth, everybody out here starting a YouTube channel, doing their own kind of after show, do you think the cast kind of regrets not rallying behind Kenya, seeing how everything's playing out now?
I would have to watch more of the season.
Okay. Like,
I could lean on the side of probably they do regret it just because it seems like most people have fallen out with Britt. Yeah. But I can't say for sure right now.
Yeah, I think there was an initial shock. Hearing Angela say things such as, like, Britt, you're not completely innocent in this. Yeah. Kind of lets me go, the fact that we had this peace brunch and hearing them say that we talked to Kenya, and her kind of crashing out, Britt, that is, crashing out, talking about something, you talk to her and things like that. I think they kind of feel like, all right, like, what she did was 100% wrong, but let's not act like she picked on somebody that was completely innocent in this. So right. I don't know, maybe regret, but I do think, like, that's why I don't understand Portia. Portia said all these things, that Kenya allegedly did something criminal, that she did, she got some underage photos. She know that she got it from one of the castmates who's on the show. but yet she's open for her to be back next season. It's like I don't even understand what Portia talking about.
Just
in
don't
that.
Listen.
Like I'm okay.
Don't even try.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead. When you're right, you're not wrong. You know what I mean?
And then just to kind of wrap it up, she was talking about how she wasn't given the opportunity to apologize. That other people on Bravo's network on different shows have had revenge cases. Even Kim Zolciak, she ended up getting a show when she got let go of RHOA, and we all know that Kim's husband came to the reunion with a gun, trying to get inside because he wanted to protect his woman when he was in there with all these black women, you know, and they had to convince him to leave his pistol in the car. And to me, I'm just like, so for this lady who, you know, pretty much has somebody bringing around a gun in protection of her, like, you guys don't make any type of big deal about it. Like, so to me, and for her to get a whole nother show after it, that it is picking and choosing, and I don't think it's fair how Kenya's treated. So,
I don't know if they see value in Kenya.
And they should.
And here's the thing. If Kenya would have went through this whole season completely, like, with no problems, basically being the mother, right? And they decided to not bring her back for 17, I would have been like, okay, cool. Like, Kenya, you've been on there for over a decade. It's time for the new breed to come in. It's time for the new girls to come in. It's time for them to get used to doing whatever they're doing. But I think, truth be told, this whole thing that happened, I think that put some new life into the Kenya name. And I do think that she will be back.
Yeah.
How do you feel about her not being invited or being uninvited from the reunion?
I think it's messed up.
I think so too.
I think that she has a perspective to tell, and I think that her being that she was a cast member on the show, that she should have the platform to speak for her situation. I don't think it's fair to where they're probably going to bring this up at the reunion, and Kenya is not going to be there to speak her piece.
And that's the only thing. That's the only reason why I would not agree. That's the only reason that I would agree with not inviting her. If y'all decide to not invite her, but there's a, like, we're not talking about this, all right, cool. And there's no point of her being there. But if y'all going to only talk and let the victor talk and things of that nature, I'm not with that. And based on how last episode was, if the rest of the season is going to be how last episode was and things like that, then the season was Kenya.
Yeah.
And basically she's carrying on the season and carrying on the episode because we don't see Britt without thinking of Kenya, right? And even the conversations and even Kenya saying she's still using my sayings and things like that. Like the spirit of Kenya, as Drew said, is still here.
Well, what do you think about this? I was listening to Carlos King. He does like a Monday Night Live with Dustin Ross and Claudia Jordan. And one of the points that they brought up is basically how the newbies, it costs a lot less to have them on the cast. And, you know, people get raises as they're on the season longer and longer. And that Kenya probably was a pretty penny to keep on the roster, as well as Portia.
Of course.
And I'm wondering, could that have been a motive to say, if we got to choose between the two, let's get rid of the more expensive one?
Of course. I think, listen here, the seasons, the franchise have hit a series low when it comes to viewership with Kenya on the show. So sometimes the juice ain't worth the squeeze, to where, especially if you're coming in and we got to pay you top dollar, but you playing the background, it's almost like, man, like, I'm not putting my little tinfoil hat on and things like that. 'Cause I know a lot of y'all believe in conspiracy and believe that production is basically choosing Kenya, choosing to go against Kenya rather. But there is something to, hey, I understand why we decided to pay Portia. She scammed us.
Yes.
Right? But if I'm going to pay top dollar for all this, I don't want you to pay background. I might as well, truth be told, if I'm going to pay top dollar, I might as well reconcile with Nene and try to bring her back. You know what I'm saying?
That'll never happen.
I know it. I know it'll never happen. But actually, never say never, because you really never know how far people will go when they feel like their franchise is in the toilet. Right? You get what I'm saying? Because listen, these are series low, but this is a different time to where, this is streaming, there's no cable. Everybody feel like they don't have to watch appointment television. They can go back and watch it. People rather watch the Peacock version because there's cussing and things like that. So there's reasons why the numbers is different in 2025 than it was in 2015, than it was in 2000. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm saying, I think they have no choice but to rectify this and bring Kenya back for 17. Mm-hmm. Or they got to get rid of Brittany. That's the only way.
I think she's going either way.
Yeah.
I think she's actually more of a flop than they anticipated.
Yeah, I think that's the only way. As long as Britt is on the show, Kenya got her mark on her now. You know what I mean? So I think that, hey, to your point, Kenya probably was a high penny. But at least, let's say, for example, I'm sure Candy was a big penny, right, to have on the show. But Candy brings Todd. Candy brings her family. Candy brings a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, for her price. Kenya bring Brooklyn.
But I feel like Kenya has such a personality.
Yes.
She is a pusher of storyline. She is a creator of conversation.
We got Angela for
that. She can be a villain when she wants to be. She's very smart, so she can get with the girls and read them. Mm-hmm. And so I think that Kenya brings a lot. Even if she doesn't bring all the people that Candy does, I felt like Candy, who I enjoyed, didn't have the personality of a Kenya.
Of course.
So it kind of evened out in the fact that she had a lot more going on with her family, management, friends, and all that type of stuff. But Kenya is a force to be reckoned with.
But she's only a force to be reckoned with amongst the girls. Other than that,
and that's where she's at.
No, but you could get scenes with Todd and Candy. You sure can get a storyline out of that. You sure can get a storyline out of Candy and her business when it comes to the restaurants. As in, Candy don't necessarily have to film with the girls to have a story.
Well, honey, I'm Team Twirl. So I can go back and forth with you for days.
I understand that, right? And you can twirl yourself dizzy, okay? But I'm saying with Kenya has already proven to production that the juiciest parts of her life, she kept it away, right? And we still paying you top dollar. Right, when it came to, did you get married, or what's going on with your divorce? You still going through your divorce? Is your divorce finalized? Okay, Brooklyn's still a kid. We're not gonna really focus your story around no children. So it's like, okay, Kenya, if we go pay you top dollar, we need you to really be the anchor of the show. You realize Kenya really never been an anchor of Housewives of Atlanta?
Yes, she has.
Do you think so?
I do.
I don't know.
It was a whole Kenya versus Nene era.
I think that was Kenya being a villain though.
And you can't be an anchor as a villain?
No.
Please.
No. I don't think so. I don't think so. We are seeing it.
You got to have conflict on a show.
No, I understand that.
So clearly a villain is somebody who's going to come in and wreck shop and make stuff happen. And I felt like she was a good villain.
Here's how I feel. No, I feel like she was a great villain.
Yeah.
Right? But here's the thing about the villain, right? You need someone to build the show around, an anchor, in my opinion, that you want to rally behind so they can defeat the villain. Right? That's why with the whole Nene, like, okay, we can get behind Nene because Kenya was on her whole Kenya villain mode and things like that.
But Nene began to fade the longer she was on.
I understand.
And Kenya was rising to the occasion. I understand. Every single time.
Blair has this thing to where she believes that Kenya, even though as great as she was, Kenya would probably go on the Mount Rushmore of Housewives, right?
Yes.
But I think we remember the early seasons of Nene.
I remember it all.
No. I'm saying... Because I was saying Kiki. I mean, I actually was saying Kenya, but let me say Nene.
You said Nene. Mm-hmm.
Right? Nene is one of the Mount Rushmores of Housewives, period, right? Mm-hmm. But I think we remember, to your point, the earlier seasons of Nene compared to the later seasons of Nene, to where Nene wasn't really on her square.
Yeah.
Right? And now we want Nene back because we remember the earlier seasons of Nene, not really the latter seasons of Nene, where we were like, do y'all remember, like, Nene was just coming here to get a check?
Yeah.
Right? But I'm saying...
That's why I'm not on that bring Nene back.
I understand that, Team 12, right? But I think there was many times to where Kenya, she can't be a villain by herself. She needs someone to go against. And that alone makes the other person the anchor, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because you can't give the villain the center peach. You know what I'm saying? And have them go against nobody.
But she hasn't been a villain for a while.
Facts.
And she has been a standout still.
Oh, no, because she is a name. She is a name.
And she's a personality.
Sure.
And she's, what did Carla say, a force multiplier.
Sure. Okay. Are you done spinning? Okay. You're twirling over there.
Depending on what you say, I might have to keep on twirling.
No, make yourself busy. Okay. Subscribe, like, share, comment, all the above. Anything else?
That's all.
Y'all be good.
Bye.